In order to end a game of League, you need to destroy the Nexus. In order to get to the Nexus, we need to destroy all of the turrets in at least one lane. In total, there are 5 turrets and 1 inhib for a given lane. In order to destroy a turret in League of Legends, you need to execute strategies called win conditions. There are in total 4 of those win conditions. Among those are teamfighting, sieging, picking, and split pushing. The reason we need win conditions is so that we can overcome the defense of the enemy champions that protect the turrets. Teamfighting is when both teams fight 5v5, 4v5, or 4v4. Sieging is when you go for the turret directly as a group or as a full-on team. In its most basic form, split pushing is about killing the enemy opponent in your lane and then destroying the turret. The number one threat that can happen when you are split pushing is that the enemy jungler comes to your lane and then assassinates you along with the enemy opponent. Picking, or otherwise known as skirmishing, is when you catch an enemy opponent when they rotate from one lane to another. All objectives have their respective value. As you can see on the picture, each tier of turrets have been listed from the best to the worst. When looking at the bot inhib and the Baron, you can see that they are the most valuable objectives, while the top inhib and the Drake are the third and fourth most valuable. When you are able to do something before the enemy can react, such as when you've shoved them under turret, you are now able to execute tactical decisions, such as ganking, invading, taking objectives, establishing vision, fighting, or even recalling. Each lane has their job. Top lane wants to 1v1 and most likely split push or team fight. Mid lane wants to shove and look to roam to influence the map. The jungle wants to gank and look to take objectives, and bot lane is the scaling component of the team. Usually the way the lanes are structured in the early game is you will have 1 top laner, 1 jungler, 1 mid laner, and 2 bot laners, among those being ADCs and supports. Alternatively, instead of having an ADC, you could have an APC. In order for a champion to comfortably take turrets, they need gold and XP. The way to acquire gold and XP is usually through farming minion waves. You can not only kill minions, but you can also manipulate where the minion waves are pushing and also where they will be. Depending on where the wave is, the wave will push in different directions. If the wave is pushed and both waves are equally large, the wave will push towards your side. If the wave is pulled and both waves are equally large, the wave will push towards the enemy. When the wave is closer to the enemy's turret, it's much harder to trade them. When the wave is closer to your turret, it is much easier to trade them because the enemy is outside their turret's safety range. However, the drawback is that you are not able to roam around the map and influence what's going on, meaning that the enemy could easily move around while you are stuck in the lane. I won't go into detail about trading, but what I will mention is that positioning is basically like this. When you stand diagonally to each other, the champion that does not want to trade is winning in this position, because if you were to attack that champion, you would draw more minion aggro because you would have to attack through an angle that goes through the wave. However, if you stand on the same side, you now will be able to avoid more minion aggro, meaning that you will take less damage. Therefore, you will win trades more consistently. Minion aggro, however, does not apply if you use abilities that are not single target, meaning, for example, an Orianna Q or a Syndra Q or some other type of spell that is not targetable. If you can land a spell that goes not only through the wave but also hits the enemy champion as well, you maximize the efficiency of your abilities. Not only do you shove the enemy into their turret, but also you poke them down at the same time. This sort of positioning is very powerful because if you were to, for example, stand in the center, you now have access to both sides of the lane, meaning that in case the enemy were to step into one side, you could adapt and step into that side as well in order to trade them as optimally as possible. This prevents the enemy from being able to stand diagonally. When shoving a wave, the enemy champion will momentarily be locked under his turret, because when the wave is under his turret, he has to farm the minions. Otherwise, if he tries to leave his lane, he will lose those minions and the golden XP that comes with it. Now, on the other side, however, you can move wherever you want on the map, because now there are no more minions to farm in the lane, and you have accessibility to the rest of the map. This is what's otherwise called as having tempo.